Saima, before we look at the various areas where India may have faltered and what is it that led to this defeat, let's address the elephant in the room first, and that is, of course, Virat Kohli. And why is it that we're talking about him is because two back-to-back ducks. It's never happened in his long career. You know, he's played international cricket for more than a decade, has never had two back-to-back ducks in ODI cricket. So that clearly is unfamiliar territory for someone like Virat. What do you think has really led to that?
Look, the man has got more than 14,000 runs. The man has got 52 one-day hundreds, plus I think 32 test match hundreds. He scored, thousands and thousands of runs. So he's allowed a couple of failures. Come on, he's allowed a couple of failures. So don't read too much into what has happened. There's plenty of cricket left. There's plenty of cricket ahead. Maybe Sydney will see a big innings from him. This, of course, Adelaide has been his favorite ground in Australia. At the test level as well as at the one-day level, he scored hundreds over there. So I think everybody was naturally expecting that because it's his favorite ground, he will get a big one here as well. But that didn't quite happen. But what a wonderful ovation he got when he walked into bat. That was, such a heartwarming ovation because the majority of the crowd were Australians. Yes, there were lots of Indians over there, but a majority of the crowd was Australians, and the Australians recognizing what he's done for the game, giving him that wonderful ovation was really, really heartwarming.
So very interesting that you talk about that ovation, not only when he came out to bat. I'm going to talk about those images that we saw when he was walking out. When he got dismissed for a duck, he was walking out. Again, a loud cheer there by the fans, and he waves them by. A lot of speculation there on social media whether, this is his time up in ODI cricket. Is he preparing himself for leaving this format, or do you think we're reading too much into it? This merely could have been just bye-bye to Adelaide, his favorite venue, because he wouldn't probably now come back to tour Australia. He's not playing test matches or T20s, and you're not going to have ODI. So probably still has his eyes on playing ODI for a long term. Surely can't be the end.
No, it's not. It's not the end. Look, I think where he was going, where the players come down from, is where the member stand is. The member stand is where former players, administrators, they all sit, and I think he was just acknowledging the ovation that they were giving him, even as they would have been disappointed. Everybody, even the Australians would have been disappointed. Make no mistake that they didn't get to see a big score from Virat Kohli. And I think he was just acknowledging it with the gloves. He was just acknowledging it. Normally, when you get a big score, you acknowledge it, and you're returning back after getting out. You acknowledge it with your bat raised or your helmet or your cap off. That is how you acknowledge. But I think this was just something which he was acknowledging the crowd, thanking the crowd for the reception and the ovation that they had given him. Don't read too much into it. Don't read too much into it.
Okay, I'm going back to that particular knock, and I completely am on the same page as you, where you say that, listen, the man's done so much in ODI cricket. He's allowed a couple of failures there. In fact, dare I say, he's been Mr. ODI cricket for the longest time at the international stage. My question to you is that what we saw of Virat Kohli, of course, he's failed before as well in his career. There has been a lean patch, must have happened in such a long career. The one thing that I've seldom seen with Virat is an unsure Virat, is a tentative Virat. Now, I'm just looking at those 12 deliveries that he's spent on crease, counting both the ODIs so far. He's looked a bit tentative. He's looked a bit unsure. That doesn't really happen with a Virat Kohli. Have you also noticed something like that? Is there, I don't know whether it's the gap of 5 months that's causing it, or all the chatter that's on the outside where, he's been put on notice. What is it that is contributing to him being tentative? And have you noticed that too?
I think any batter brought up on Indian pitches and then going and playing in Australia or even sometimes in South Africa, the pitches have an extra bounce. And so it is only natural that the batter will be just a little bit, will take a little more time to get used to it. And that's exactly what we saw with Kohli in these 12 deliveries that we saw. Basically trying to get used to the extra bounce. And that's it. Once you get used to the bounce, the Australian pitches are the best pitches to bat on. And particularly because, whether it's a red ball, red kookaburra ball, or the white kookaburra ball, it stops moving after a half a dozen overs or so. And so if you can show a little bit patience and let the ball go, and in a 50 overs game you can do that. Not maybe in a T20 game, you can let the ball go, because with the kind of shots that both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli have, they can play right round the dial. They can catch up with maybe after a slow start, they can catch up, and get more than a run a ball score. So I think that is exactly what he was looking to do, and that's exactly what he should be doing at Sydney as well. Start the innings as if it's a test match innings. Get your eye in, get your feet going, get a measure of what the pitch is doing, and then you can start playing all the shots that we know that he possesses. That's exactly what I would say to both Rohit Sharma and Virat Kohli.
I'm not trying to look for any excuse to bail them out, but Saibhai, the fact that you probably have got the toughest or the most difficult conditions to tackle on both occasions. India have lost the toss. We know that batting first, that first 1 hour, both, and these are still winters in Australia. Summers really haven't set in. This time, you get pitches with a bit of juice. He's coming back after a long time, and unfortunately for him, getting to bat at probably the worst time for any batter to get going.
Yes, you're absolutely right. You're right that the pitches are fresher, and so therefore there'll be a little more bounce in it, a little more carry. Even bowlers bowling at about 130 kilometers per hour were getting the ball to bounce, and the wicket keeper behind the stumps was collecting the ball with the fingers pointing skywards. So yes, it actually tells you it's not going to be easy for anybody, and particularly if you've had a gap. So we've got to allow them that as well. Allow both these great players just a little bit where they might look as if they are not quite middling the ball, but that is only because getting back on bouncy pitches is never easy.
Saibhai, you were talking about that approach for Virat Kohli. Is that the same approach that you saw in Rohit Sharma? You were saying, treat it like a test knock? Because Rohit, in the last couple of years, his strike rate has gone in the 120 range in ODI cricket. Today, we saw a very different avatar of Rohit, and that clearly helped him.
Yes, bringing all the experience into play. They'd lost Shubman Gill early, and then they'd lost Kohli early. So clearly, I think it was required of Rohit Sharma to settle down a little bit and get the team to a good partnership, and that's exactly the way you need to play. When we played in India, the World Cup, or even the Champions Trophy, when he was opening the batting, he was looking to get the team off to a flying start, like a vertical takeoff start. But I think every batter realizes that your minimum score should be, even in a one-day game, you should be looking to get 100. And if you're trying to get 100, you'll get about 80, 90. You've done very well for your team. And that's exactly what Rohit Sharma is looking to do now. Not looking to blast the bowling in the first 10 overs and then getting maybe a quick 40, 50 in 20, 25 deliveries, but looking to go much more. We just heard young SG say that he was very pleased with what he did. Yeah. So if the young SG is pleased, how can the old SG be displeased?
Okay, that is bang on. I mean, you and I never had doubt on the talent that Rohit Sharma possesses, but let's not forget that there has been plenty of chat, especially after he was removed as ODI captain, in terms of his long-term future in ODI cricket. I'm sure, even if, Rohit is a confident batter, confident individual, he must have heard of this chatter. It'll, of course, affect any individual. What does this do to his confidence, this particular knock that he's played today in tough circumstances? What does this do to his confidence and also his near future in ODI cricket?
Well, it does wonders to his confidence because, again, like Kohli, he hasn't played any international cricket for about 4 or 5 months. So clearly, I think that's really big. That against Australia on a pitch which is not easy to bat on, where there was a little more bounce, he got a 70 plus. So that is definitely something that will raise your confidence and make you want to bat again. Carry on in the same way in the next game and the next few opportunities that come along. So yes, I think anytime you get a big score or a 50-plus score, it's always very, very good for the batter.
One final point, Saibhai, on this particular match. Kuldeep Yadav, do you think India missed him today in this match? Had he been there, who knows? This narrow loss could have been a win. What do you reckon?
Not too sure about that. Not at Adelaide, because the square boundaries are really small, and he could have been a little expensive. So maybe no quibble with the selection, but I hope that he will play in Sydney, where the boundaries, the ground is big, and the boundaries will be pretty big as well. So the batters will really have to hit him well to to get the big runs.
Saibhai, firstly, him moving out of the test squad had raised eyebrows. And now he doesn't even find himself in the second rung, the A level, despite some outstanding performances in domestic cricket. I see he's averaging 100 plus in domestic cricket, but doesn't even find himself there in the second rung. What do you make of his non-selection?
Well, yes, I think it would have been good if the selection committee had told why he was not considered. Hopefully, they have conveyed to him, even if they have not, said publicly why he has not been considered. Because only last year he got 100 against New Zealand on a pitch where not too many others got runs. He got 140, 150. So he is capable of batting and scoring runs at the highest level. He hasn't really got the opportunities. You could say whether it was in Australia or England, he wasn't even in the squad, maybe because of injury. But whatever the reason that he has not been picked, which has not been made public, as long as he's been told why, and therefore he has the opportunity to get better from what, then that would be a good thing to do. About his ability, everybody has seen the runs he has scored, everything. So hopefully the selection committee has been in touch with him.
So I must be wondering, whatever the reason, what must Sarfaraz get better at? I mean, one is to score runs, which he's been doing consistently. I find there are certain players that average less than him in Test cricket, but they're part of the squad. Currently, he doesn't find himself there. The other criticism was about him losing weight. Apparently, he's lost 17 kilos, looks fit there. So if he's scoring runs, is fit enough, what else must a player do to get back?
Well, that's it. But that's how, selection sometimes is. And sometimes, you miss out. Sometimes, like you say, only 11 can play. And then sometimes only 16 can be included. There are players who are good enough, but who don't always find a play. There's so many. There's in the history of cricket, not just in Indian cricket, so many who are good enough, but who unfortunately being born at the wrong time, accident of birth, where there were others who were as good or slightly better, who played for a long time, 8-10 years, and therefore you never got an opportunity. For example, when you had Rahul Dravid, Sachin Tendulkar, VVS Lakshman, Saurav Ganguly in the team, who could come in the middle order. They were there for about 10, 12 years. There were so many good players. So that's how it is. But hopefully, like I said, Ajit Agarkar has had a word with Sarfaraz and told him why he's not in consideration at the moment. Maybe they just want him to play Ranji Trophy and get loads of runs.